Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
Hello, I'm Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Now, in this video, we'll be focusing on potentially the two closest races for the Senate, and the two closest as of right now, Nevada and Georgia.
Yeah, so as we get into almost October, with almost just a month left until the election, wanted to look at the closest races left. We believe that Nevada and Georgia are the final two keys to winning the Senate. And we're just assuming for this that the other toss-up states go to where we put it in the last prediction. So there we go. But even predict it. The betting odds, they agree with us. Okay. Georgia and Nevada are the closest two races, with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin just a little behind. But especially Georgia, we'll get into Georgia after Nevada, but these two races are going to decide the Senate. If Republicans can manage to win both Senate seats, then Republicans will slightly take the Senate. But if Democrats manage to win one, even, they will hold the Senate. And if they win two, they don't have to worry about Joe Manchin. So that's a bonus for them. Anyways, we'll get into Nevada.
Okay, yeah. So in Nevada, we have incumbent Senator Catherine Cortez Masto running against former Attorney General Adam Laxalt. So we've commented on this race before. This is like one of these races where Republicans ran like a really strong candidate that unified their party. The establishment McConnell wing of the party supported Laxalt. The MAGA Trump wing of the party supported Laxalt because he's a proven statewide candidate. And as we can see by the polling, he has a real shot of winning this.
Yeah, so not only does the polling show Laxalt up in the Real Clear Politics average, I mean, 538 Ways polls sort of weirdly, in my opinion, but Laxalt does have the edge, in my opinion. I'm not going to comment on the exact prediction just because it's not a official prediction video. It will come soon, but looking at the predicted odds as well, Laxalt is a slight favorite against Cortez Masto. And when we look at the more recent likely voter polls, they all have Laxalt up. We're in this video, we're going to in particular look at Emerson College. Luke, you might have your own opinions on this, but I think we both agree Emerson this cycle has almost been leaning to the right. In the past, they've been leaning to the left in their polls just a little sometimes, just sometimes a lot sometimes. But this cycle, they seem to be on par with Trafalgar, which is a known pro-Republican pollster generally, even though they are accurate.
Yeah, if our viewers do not know, Trafalgar is a pollster that usually rates its races to the right. It's a Republican partisan pollster. So usually it has a Republican bias in its polling data. We see Emerson College kind of having results in lots of cases similar to Trafalgar, especially in these swing states. So it's led us to believe that Emerson could be leaning slightly to the right this cycle. Now, what's interesting about their polling also, especially for this 2022 cycle, is that they've aimed, I've noticed that they've aimed to get a good distribution of Trump and Biden voters. In this particular poll, I believe by like of the people who responded, it's like Biden's leading by like 2.1 in this poll for 2020 voters. So it's very representative of the 2.4 Biden got in 2020. So yeah, I believe Emerson is a trustworthy pollster that we can kind of expand on in this video.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it one more time before we look into the actual details of this poll, Emerson is a few points behind Trafalgar, but is to the right of some other pollsters that we've seen. And it's sort of like this middle ground that could lean either way. And we think that if we were to analyze one poll in this video for Nevada, we are going to deep dive into Emerson. So just looking at the results here, we see Laxalt with a 1-point lead, obviously, and we won't look at the governor's race in this video, but if you were to look at it, it's a dead heat. So there we go. And then as we look into the further lower results, we see that Nevada obviously disapproves of Joe Biden. That's not surprising. The country disapproves of him, of course. And in the generic ballot, Republicans lead by 3. So technically, both candidates are underperforming the generic ballot, but it's pretty close either way. And then looking at the most important issue, we have the economy, which is the most important issue nationwide, of course. And abortion has been surging, but is nowhere close to the economy. If we were to look at these issues, I would think that economy, people that said the economy are going to lean to the right by quite a large margin. It's pretty difficult to see someone voting for Joe Biden because of the economy. That's pretty unlikely. And then abortion access, I would think, mostly breaks for the Democrat here. Nevada is uniquely very pro-choice for a swing state, and 18% here likely leans a lot to the left. I'm not saying that maybe 5% of this 18% is leaning to the right, right? They might be supporting that. Healthcare could go either way, but likely leans to the Democrats. Immigration and crime probably lean Republican, and water supply and education are, just too far down, and they're also slightly irrelevant. But anyways, they did say that Roe v. Wade made them, more likely to vote in the election, and I'll let you talk about the rest.
Yeah, so something else I've noticed in this poll, I mean, first, obviously, it's to note that it is extremely close. Like looking like deeper into the data, it's like a 0.5% lead for Laxalt. So it's like a half point lead. Very, very close. Something else I've noticed is that Catherine Cortez Masto, has a strong lead among Hispanic voters. She holds a 19-point lead. So that's pretty solid. But, again, this is where this could make or break this race. Like, I think Republican gains in Nevada, if they're going to make any, they have to be with Hispanic voters. That's where they've been. Like in 2020, they made gains with them before. They made a few gains in the Las Vegas area. And if they're going to win, this race in particular hinges on Hispanic voters. And yeah.
Yeah, so not only that, I mean, I think these racial numbers are actually somewhat important to look at. I don't know if I buy this black voter lead. I think it's greater. I can't see Republicans getting, like 35% of black voters. That's pretty unlikely in my opinion. I think it's going to be a lot less. But in Nevada, I think the Hispanic population is a lot more important. And I don't know exactly, but I feel like Hispanic voters might be shifting faster to the right than Emerson is polling them. As you said, Emerson tries to use the 2020 margins to sample the people they poll, right? And in here, Hispanics are breaking for Masto by 20 points, which it could narrow up, right? I mean, obviously, we saw a majority Hispanic districts in Texas, flip red. We've seen Florida shift very quickly to the right. And I'm not saying Hispanics are a monolith because obviously they aren't, but it is something to watch out for. Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we were to say that Nevada, maybe slightly leans to the right for some reason, taking into the betting odds and this Emerson poll and all the other polls, not saying this is the official prediction, but if we were to put Nevada here to tilt Republican, then everything would come down to Georgia. Democrats would need to win Georgia to win the Senate, and Republicans would need to as well.
Okay, let's go to Georgia then. So in Georgia, we have Raphael Warnock, the incumbent senator who won a special election in 2021. He's going up against the Trump-endorsed Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker is like a former football star, very close ties to Trump. And, something notable about him is like Trump, like kind of pushed him through to be the nominee for the Republican Party in this race without really consulting like McConnell or any other establishment Republicans. And that's part of the reason I think we have a really lackluster candidate here in Herschel Walker. I mean, like if you see some of his like speeches and some of the things he says, like it's just like they don't really add up, some of the stuff he says is kind of questionable and strange. And obviously, he also has a scandalous past. Like he's dealt with mental health problems. He's like threatened his wife and like business sussery, for lack of a better word. So yeah, very interesting race here.
Yeah, I honestly have not looked into either candidate's past, so I can't really comment on that exact point. But I agree. I think Walker is a weak candidate. Let's first look at the betting odds here in Georgia, and it's an absolute dead heat. It's been going up and down for the past 3 months, but Walker has been surging recently, which is something to note. The recent polls started to come in, and he's been surging. And I think there's a lot of things to look at. If we do look at the polls, they're somewhat split. They do some break for Warnock a little more, but when Walker does lead, it is a little more convincing, just because of the pollsters that we see. The University of Georgia, for one, was the most accurate pollster in 2020 on the presidential level. They were off by 0.2%, and they have Walker up too. And we also have data for Progress, which is, sort of interesting. They are technically a Democrat pollster, but they have been leaning to the right in those special elections earlier this year, and they have it as a dead heat. We have Trafalgar, which has Walker just 1 point up. And then we have Emerson, which we're going to look at Emerson again for Georgia, just for the reasons we said before. They're sampling of 2020, and we think Emerson's a good pollster to look at. So we will look at those exact numbers. We do see Walker leads by 2 in the Emerson polling, 46-44. And this one is a little less exact than Nevada. This one did have a small sample size, if I'm not mistaken. It was only 600 likely voters, which is not a big margin. And there's a lot of interesting data here, so I'll let you get into it.
Yeah, so obviously here we see Herschel Walker has a 2-point lead over Warnock. But something I would like to point out is there are 7% undecideds, and neither candidate is above that critical 50% in Georgia. So in Georgia, there's a runoff system, essentially, where a candidate to win the Senate seat, or to win a seat, essentially, needs 50% of the vote plus 1. And if neither candidate reaches that, then there will be a runoff. And that's what we saw in 2020 in both Senate races. On election day, neither candidate made it to 50%. So both races went to a January runoff. Now, based on like what we see in this poll, again, this poll mimics Emerson uses a 2020 kind of sample for their poll. So essentially it is not going to hit that 50% as of right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to point out the runoff. Warnock won the seat off of a runoff. He won against Kelly Loeffler, Leffler, who was the incumbent, and he won by 2 points, which was pretty solid in Georgia. Obviously, there's a lot of weird things that happened in the aftermath of the 2020 election that let him get this, but Georgia has been shifting to the left, and he got the W in the runoff. And I think he has good fundraising power. He's a well-known name from 2021, and I would think that he's favored in a runoff. I'm not exactly sure in the first round, right? But in my opinion, I think Walker needs to break 50%. Walker does not have that fundraising power that Warnock has. We saw that in 2021. We saw Warnock has that special advantage. Walker's going to need to win another college football game for him to get that fundraising up. And looking into these numbers, since you didn't do that, you wanted to mention the runoff, which is of course necessary. But he's underperforming Governor Brian Kemp, right? Obviously, the incumbency has an advantage, but Stacey Abrams is hovering this on around the same poll numbers as Warnock. But Walker can't seem to crack that 50% that Kemp is nearing in this poll. And then we have these favorability ratings, which are not great for Herschel Walker. Not many people really like Herschel Walker a lot. A lot of Republicans only somewhat like him. Then a lot of people are also hold unfavorable views, especially Democrats who are energized to vote. And Warnock has a lot more very favorable ratings from his base, right? And independents might somewhat like him, but he has a good base to work off of. And
Yeah.
then we have, go ahead.
I just want to mention, like in this poll, I found it really interesting that it actually has Herschel Walker having better favorability ratings than we see in a lot of other polls. Like in a lot of other polls, we see him like firmly in the negatives, and I think this one is fairly even here for Herschel Walker in terms of like the net totals. I mean, there is a lot of like somewhat favorables,
True.
like as opposed to very, but again, like that is something to note here. Like, I mean, maybe he's warming up to Georgians, according to Emerson, at least.
Yeah, but also that's a crucial point that you just made there, because if this poll is, unfortunately, with its small sample size, right, that I mentioned earlier, if it's polling people that have a slightly favorable view of Herschel Walker instead of those that have a slightly disfavorable view, it could be having a right-leaning skew in the Walker-Warnock horse race. So maybe this poll is out sampling Walker voters, which is a big possibility. And I want to also get into the Biden approval rating, because presidential approval rating is usually important in midterm cycles, and he's disapproved of by 15 points. And on the generic ballot, this is extremely interesting. Both Herschel Walker and Brian Kemp in this poll are underrunning the congressional candidate. 51% would vote for the Republican, while 46% would vote for the Democrat, which means Georgia would be voting. Yeah, Georgia would be voting R+5 if this poll is correct on the generic ballot. And both candidates are underrunning this. And Walker's is only at 46%. So it's pretty sad news for him.
Yeah, this again, like and like similar to this is like a different like scenario. I'd also like to note, like when we look at Nevada, that kind of hinged on like Hispanic shifts, but in Georgia, it hinges more on like African American and Black voters. Like they've been like Georgia has been gaining a lot of like Black voters over the last few years, and they've been voting Democrat, and this has been moving the state to the left. So like the whole question around Georgia is different to that of Nevada, and basically is like, are Black voters going to turn out, and are they going to push Warnock over the top, or are they not? And is Herschel Walker just going to get that standard like conservative vote?
Yeah, I agree. I think Walker would be a party line vote, just like Warnock is for the Democrats. And just wrapping up Georgia here with the most important issue, we also have the economy at 36%, but abortion access has hit 20. And abortion access is probably favoring Democrats, and crime is going to favor Republicans. And this is going to be an extremely close race.
That abortion access is 2 points higher than Nevada.
That is extremely interesting, especially because Nevada is more pro-choice than Georgia, as the last time I checked, right? And so we'll see if these Black voters can get Warnock up, or if Walker is going to be the second Republican senator in the Senate. The Republicans will hold more Black senators in the Senate if Walker wins this race, which is interesting to note. So we have this final race here. Could go to the Republicans, could go to the Democrats. It's all up to Georgia and Nevada. So thanks for watching. Like this video down below. Subscribe, comment down below.
Yeah, make sure to share.
Make sure to share the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.
See ya.